Yes. Thank you for filling the time. I promise I know what I'm doing technology-wise. All right, so my name's Tanner Norris, and like David said, AI strategist at INTRUST, also tech enthusiast, gamer, so if you guys are playing anything, let me know. Today, we're going to talk about what's worth building with AI. So I'm going to walk you guys through some frameworks, some thought processes, things that I apply both at INTRUST, but also outside in my AI consulting business on how to figure out what's worth building. It used to take months, right, to go from an idea to a working prototype, countless conversations, whiteboard sessions, tons of should that person be in the room, should that person not be in the room. Now all that is crammed in an afternoon with Claude, and you're done, you have a working prototype. But that shifts the question from can we build it to is it worth building? How are we actually solving a problem for human good? How are we fixing somebody's friction in their day? Because you can fall into a build trap incredibly quick. I've been there multiple times. It'd be really cool if I could just do this. And you just do it, and then it ends up getting shelved or thrown in the trash. And I wasted tokens and all of that stuff. So I'm going to walk you guys through that journey today. I guarantee you everybody in the room has heard this question. Some form of, can AI help me fix our problem? Can you fix our problem with AI, etc.? I'm going to walk you guys through my experience with this year. So I was pulled into a meeting probably 3-4-ish months ago, and they said, Tanner, can AI fix our problem? We have folks that are leaving because they're going to new opportunities. They're leaving because they don't like the job. Can AI help us? Our support staff is deteriorating. The people in the room were 3 leaders in this particular department, and these were the 3 theories. One said, we just need faster answers. If we can get answers more quickly to our support staff, then everything will be better because they'll be less frustrated and they'll be more educated and life will be simpler for them. Another one said, it's just a hard job. Nuance, understanding all the little bits and pieces that make up somebody's day is just difficult. And the last person said, it's the wrong org structure. We need to get leaders. We need to get a new group. We need to just restructure everything that we're doing. And the thing is, they were all wrong. All of them were looking at it from the wrong angle. So when I took this initiative and said, sure, maybe AI could help us. We'll see. It's not a magic bullet for everything. Can't smear it over things that are broken and hope that it fixes it, etc. So my journey actually starts back in January of this year. One of the leaders that I really respect just made this phrase or this statement in passing. It's a very small moment for him, big impact for me. And he said, I think everybody should know how to ask a good question. That should be the bar for colleges, universities. Everyone needs to know how to ask good questions. I hear a lot of bad questions, and I hear a lot of shallow questions. And he was saying that to me, and I was like, okay, so give me a review, or like, what do I need to do here? So I started to reflect, and I thought, do I know how to ask a good question? No one's ever told me how to ask bad questions. No one ever told me what a good question looks like. I don't know the anatomy of that. And so I started off on my journey. How do I know how to ask good questions? And that led me to part 1 of the framework, clean language. This was developed by a therapist by the name of David Grove in the 1980s. And David Grove became incredibly obsessed with preserving the interviewee experience. As he went through and looked at therapists and the different ways that they would ask questions of the people they're interviewing, he noticed they were introducing subtle influence to whatever story, whatever predicament that person was in. And so he developed what's called clean language to keep out dirty data, dirty input. I went through and I put together a list of 20 questions and really just kind of hammered clean language for a couple weeks and came up with, like I said, a list of 20. Here were my favorite ones that I used. And these are in sequential order. 1, what's the highlight of your day? Immediately gets the person in a positive mindset, an energized mindset. this is the stuff I love to do. And this is the highlight. These are the things I love to talk about. And they will go on and on and on and on about the stuff that they really enjoy doing. Then you introduce the villain, the antagonist. Great. What pulls you away from that most often? At that point, you're going to immediately figure out the friction in that person's day. You're going to figure out, if I could just, whenever these reports come up, I have to do data entry, I have to do this manual thing, I have to interact with this particular group, I have to answer emails, etc. And then preserving that experience, moving to the next question. What would need to change for that to happen less? Not insinuating anything, not changing their experience. You're going to switch their mindset to, I don't have to provide a solution, I don't have to fix it. Instead, I just need to talk about what would need to change. Maybe it's a policy thing. Maybe it's something regulatory. Maybe it's just, we've always done it this way. And then last, the hero, what's stopping that change? Documenting all of this helped me figure out what's the problem we're actually trying to solve. So I took the first part of my framework and I went and I talked to everybody that was surrounding the support staff issue. It wasn't, I need to go talk to the support staff and I need to document everything they're doing and I need to figure out what their friction is. Instead, talk to the head of the department. It was very interesting as I went through each depth of leadership, how the perspective of that group and the problem changed. There was no consistency or continuity between any of the messages of each one of those individuals, asking those same questions. One even said, the support staff is like, they're the glue that hold everything together. They are the quarterback. They're the ones that go and make everything happen. They're the doers. But as I went and I had more questions and I asked, they didn't get paid or recognized or shared in the glory like the glue or the doers or the quarterbacks. So asking through all of these different levels allowed me to paint a brighter picture. Here's what I found. Work was opaque. Tracking anything was a monumental task. It was emails, post-it notes, drive-bys, spreadsheets, stuff in people's heads. One person went and bought a paper planner that they used to write everything, and they took it home with them at night. And then each admin managed their workload differently, obviously creating consistency and continuity issues because everybody does it different, not a big issue, or a big issue rather. And then inefficiency was everywhere. Printing things just to shred them. And then lots of manual data entry, copying and pasting, that type of stuff. So there was a lot of, really? You guys actually do that? That's crazy. Okay, it's 2026. And then jagged training. All of the knowledge, the onboarding, the experience, everything was trapped in one person's head. If that person was gone, training stopped, onboarding stopped, and their source of knowledge was gone. It was the most fragile system I'd seen, and it resulted in frustration from top to bottom. So after mapping all these things out, I went back to the drawing board, and I went to actually solve the problem that they were experiencing. My problem statement, we never gave them a system. We made them the system. That support staff had to absorb every point of friction across that department. They absorbed every inefficiency, they coped with the workload they had, and they really just tried to make it work. So we gave them a system. I went and I built an MVP. I found something worth building. So this is Lumio, and this is an all-in-one kind of centralized platform where it wrangles everything that they do throughout the day. It puts everything into a transparent pipeline. It allows you to create packets, digital packets, so you don't have to print things off. It allows you to have briefings so you can stay connected to the industry. You have processes and procedures you can ask questions on. This became their single pane of glass for everything that they do. And I put it together in 2 hours. And that was all because I did the front end work, figuring out the actual problem that we needed to fix. So their new day, transparent work. They know where everything is. They get a status update on yesterday Tanner did X, Y, Z, Robert did this, Rob did this. Everybody knows the status of their coworker. Less status updates in general. That was a big thing as I went through all the different leadership levels and support levels. Everyone had, where are we at with this client? Where are we at with this customer? Where's this work order? Where's this sales order? And if that person was out, remember the planner guy who took his paper home, no one knew what was going on. Less frustration overall, which is a more fulfilling environment, more time spent on the client, less on manual tasks, and they felt closer to the industry with briefings that were saying, hey, this is something new, you probably need to implement this, or at least be aware that this is changing in your work area. So now that we've figured out what to build, how do we position it so that we can actually get leadership alignment, get the people we're trying to solve the problem? How can we get them on board? So SAVE, I'm not sure, anybody marketing? Anybody heard of the SAVE model? So the SAVE model replaces the 4 Ps, if you guys know about that. I am not a marketing guy, but I love to learn. And I was going through this marketing module, and they talked about SAVE: solution, access, value, and education. Turns out, if you want to sell something, that framework actually works pretty well for should you build something, and how do you connect people to what you're actually trying to do. So here's the example that I put together for Lumio. So we have S, solution, the problem it actually solves. One place that pulls everything together. Everything's in one live view. It's a clear view of who's working on what. Deadlines surface before they slip. So no more, where are we at with the status update? The customer called, we're trying to figure out what's going on there. Access, how this thing fits in. How do people actually interface with it? This also helps de-risk it for the folks that are in risk management, et cetera. You can figure out, how do we access it? What do we go through? The value. So this is going to be for your CFO, right? What's the value it actually provides? What's our kickback? What is the thing that this tool that we're building or this product actually solves? And then education. This one, faster onboarding. How do we get people involved? How do we get them educated about what this platform can do? So fantastic model, and that's kind of part 2. So once you know what's worth building, here's how you can keep building the right thing. This is something that I came across the geniuses on social media, and they were talking about, and I was like, oh man, okay, yeah, let's incorporate this and give it a shot. The genius was Peter, the inventor of OpenClaw. So Vision.md. So he had floated this idea. It was like one tweet, and it was just like, hey, a Vision Markdown document would be kind of cool. And I said, it sure would, Peter. So I started exploring what that looks like. This has been fantastic for developing and building anything AI related. This gives you the front end work of interviewing, getting all of the information, putting that into whatever AI tool you're looking for. And when you have this Vision.md, it's not just what does Lumio do? It's what's the long-term vision? So my long-term vision for Lumio is one core, many flavors. It's Baskin Robbins. You get vanilla and you add whatever you want to it, and you have this department can use it with a slight customization, this department, this department, this department. That's my Vision.md. As I'm going through and developing, this thing gets, it gut checks and gate checks every single time against this document and keeps me, 1, on the right track, but 2, if I spin up any sub-agents that work on their own, they have a smaller context window, they'll continue to check back against Vision.md and keep them moving in the same direction and less kind of, bumper bowling that you have to do with those guys. I did this recently for a Choose Your Own Adventure. Remember those books back in the day? I did that with a survey. So I really wanted to trick people into giving me information for my AI training, and we were survey fatigue like crazy. So I built it into a Choose Your Own Adventure. So each time you had to pick what happened next, you had to answer a survey question. And it was great. I gave it to our trainers, and I was like, I need a vision document. And they were like, why? I said, just go with me on this. And I got to the end, and they said, that thing asked me like 23 questions to build out this vision document. And I said, right, I don't want to answer those. I want you guys to. Then we get the vision document, and we can start building. So it worked really well. It's something I would recommend taking a look at. And then the last piece, once you're building the right thing, this is actually what decides if anyone wants to actually use it. Taste. You've probably heard about this. Kind of funny. So when I was putting together this presentation, Lenny's podcast had Adam Mosseri on, who's the head of Instagram. And the whole topic of the podcast was taste and discernment, which I thought was very timely. But one of the things that I do, one of the tricks that I do when I'm building out and designing anything is getting familiar with the domain masters, whether it's art, design, writing, user experience, and leveraging their design principles to whatever it is that I'm building. So how would Ives, Tuft, Vignelli, Dieter, Orwell, Jobs, how would they do this? And it is incredible what you'll actually get, the output. Simplicity wins. Don't overthink it. That's something that I see often when people kind of pull me in to ask me questions about AI stuff, is they tend to cram as much features or as many features into a tool as possible. And simplicity wins. It needs to feel natural from start to finish.
And AI itself is going to try to make it complicated.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. Tanner, we should do this. And it's like, calm down, no? Then what are your triggers for when someone should reach for this thing? If you can't answer that question, then you probably need to start over and go back to the drawing board. Whatever it is you're building, if you can't think of when X leads to Y, so if I would ask the group, if you guys need to buy something, what's the first thing you think of? Don't be shy. Amazon. You need to buy something locally, fast. Amazon. Exactly. They own all these different category entry points. So that's a big thing to figure out as well. Exactly. Yeah, I need food fast, DoorDash. So you have all of these things that you have to take into consideration when you build these things now. And it's not just, can I build something cool, but can I build something cool that owns a trigger point that actually gets us to a place where it's going to be utilized. And when somebody wants to utilize it, it feels good to use, satisfying, and natural. That last box, stoke your imagination, channel your inner Willy Wonka, because I know I'm not telling you guys anything new. Sky's the limit when it comes to this stuff. But it's funny how often I have to remind people that, be a kid, hope that it rains spaghetti and meatballs, those type of things. So with that, that's what I got today. Any questions?
We have ample time for Q&A.
Yes.
What would your customers say about this?
They liked it. It was kind of funny. So the first thing they said is, what vendor is this and how much does it cost us per year? And at that point, I had a decision to make. And I was like, yeah, there's this like underground developer. It's crazy. Yeah, he's awesome, dude. But no, that's the first thing they said. And then second is how quickly can we get it implemented? What do we need to do? How do we start clearing the way to get this thing done? And we got an MVP stood up, and we got a small group of people using it. And so far, the feedback is great.
So did you pitch the MVP with a mock-up, or did you have a real?
It was a working prototype. Yep. Yeah, as quickly as you can spin them up, I just figured let's get it all out there and let them click through it, start experiencing it.
So Tanner, you built a fully functional MVP. You and Claude?
Yep, me and Claude Code. Yeah, me, Claude Code, Vercel, Supabase. Yep.
Okay. So
trifecta.
database-driven web interface. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It changes the entire workflow, doesn't it? Like, you almost end up presenting. I used to present wire maps, right,
Mm-hmm.
to somebody of like what I think their experience is going to be, and now I feel like I'm presenting MVP level,
Yeah.
right, and almost talking through feature sets of something rather than like what you want.
Right. Yeah, it's less theoretical and more, let's just click through this. And the back and forth is so satisfying because you can sit in the room and say, do you like this? Well, I really wish it was our brand colors. Okay. Then 30 seconds later, here you go. It completely changes the calculus. Yep. Great question.
Talk about user adoption and how you feel about the uptake with where you're sitting at now. The way of them creating value and the outcomes you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Just interested in your perspective and what the continued dialogue has been with that team and
Mm-hmm.
the results. Kind of, I think you had some $85,000 offset.
Yeah. Yeah, which was all of our onboarding costs, training, et cetera, all of those things. And so far, so good. We're still tracking it to see, are we going to reach that number? But for this point, it's just been more of, hey, can we add this? Can we tweak this thing? How do we get more AI? That's another thing. What else can we build? And it seemed to be kind of an unlock for what other problems can we solve? How can we take the framework that Tanner put together and start applying it internally and figuring out, can we start building our own things, which that's citizen development, and that's something we're trying to avoid altogether. But it's really changed the perspective on AI in general, which has been nice. Because before it was kind of like, I don't know, can we just get like a chat bot? And instead, it's, let's just build a full platform that actually solves problems. That answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, so you're early stage, you're observing,
Right.
you quantify that. So I think it's really that virtuous cycle of getting back to, hey, this is what we landed on value. That's also such a powerful part of the recruitment process.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
but it takes time to observe those outcomes and then
Mhm.
course correct.
Absolutely. Yes, you're 100%
Yes.
correct. Okay, thank you. Yes.
How much time since MVP,
Mhm.
how much time do you spend iterating?
I would
And
say,
what kind of cycles?
yeah, I would say less than 20 hours
Total?
total
And
since MVP. Yeah. Reason,
Have you set up some frequency of?
yeah, we have touch points,
Okay.
right? Touch points, just check in, how are things going type of thing. But it's me and one other person too. So we're also, trying to figure out how do we balance all of the different iterations, requests coming in, change requests, those type of things for this particular platform.
All right, I'm curious too then, if you were to guess, how
Yeah.
much of that time, like that 20 hours, do
Yeah.
you spend simplifying?
Honestly, not much. It's
Do you think you got there because of the pre-work you did?
yes,
Okay.
because I had built things in the past, and I didn't go through this whole pre-work process. I didn't go through the interview process in this way, and I felt like things that I was building were missing the mark, right? Or they were very surface level. And so when somebody got them, one, from a satisfactory standpoint, they didn't really, it didn't resonate with them to actually use the product. And then part two is, I think I was building in, like I said, missing the target, actually missing the mark on what they were needing. I was listening to the surface level stuff, and I didn't dive deeper to figure out the root of the actual problem. Once you figure that out, then people naturally feel gravitated towards it because it makes their day easier, and you eliminated that friction.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah,
Great.
thank you.
So did you ever go back to the vision and tweak it in the process, or was that just canonical already?
Good question.
I try to leave it just completely crystallized, but there are some things that I'll go back and go, you know what, we do need to tweak this because of X, Y, Z. For instance, from like a risk mitigation perspective, I can't build and scale on Vercel and Supabase. We have to figure out how can we get this thing migrated over to like Azure, for instance, right? So that was something I went back and we framed up and figured out what's the one-to-one there. Yeah, good question.
What's an example of a few of the statements in your vision and brief?
Okay, so great question. So one is never sacrifice simplicity for a feature. One is always make sure this fits. I'm trying to summarize because they're paragraphs. Always make sure this fits the target audience that I learned from the actual framework itself, because I've learned that Claude will go, yeah, I know this is for these folks, but what if? And it starts adding extra fluff and insulation there. And it's, no, we need to make sure we stay focused on our actual target audience. So that's one thing. Another thing is whatever we build has to fit into the future of Azure. So we can't go and grab 11 labs to build a voice agent because Microsoft doesn't have an equivalent right now. So feature sets, technology, those type of things. Yeah. And
Follow-up?
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
Agents, MD, like, are your rules and guidelines that your agents abide by.
Mhm.
Right? Here's what you can and can't do. So
Yes.
vision is here are aspirations.
Yep.
Fundamentally, right?
Yes, that strategic
Does
initiatives.
agents point at vision?
You could. Right now, they're two separate things.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So you guys, that's like harness engineering, right? You're building
Yeah.
a harness around your AI,
Yes.
right? That gives it guidance and now aspiration.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, I really like that.
Yeah. And yeah, it was one of those things of, well, I like when I have a vision that I can march to in my org. So why not do the same thing for agents?
Are you replacing people? What's happening to your people?
Oh, man. No, elevating people. That's the right answer.
Tell us about it. Yeah.
Yep. No one replaced.
Yeah.
No
So
one
really,
replaced.
honestly, right?
Yeah.
People are getting nervous about AI replacing them. What's your
Yes.
experience?
Uh,
INTRUST Bank, right?
Yeah.
You've got quite a bit of AI integration.
yep.
Yep. What's your outlook on?
So for the most part, everyone seems to be cautiously optimistic about AI getting woven through the bank in general. Because what we're trying to target is, like I said, the areas of friction, right? It's not, hey, this is something manual you guys do all the time, and this is your only job, so we'll just do this, and then you can find something else to do. We don't want to go through that route. So instead, it's asking the questions, okay, what's the highlight of your day? How can we make sure that you can continue doing that, because that's where you're your best, and we're going to get incredible output that way. And framing it around what they enjoy doing, that's been kind of the philosophy from our president.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm listening to you and now I'm rethinking what you presented in SAVE, right?
Mhm.
That workflow was really a human first
Yes.
AI planning and adoption process.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it's, yeah.
Because it's releasing your humans to do what they're best at, what needs to be done most, etc.
Yes. And you can flip that question too. So my other favorite question is, what's the most draining part of your day? And that's really fun. You get some really cool answers there. So if you ever want to reflect, just sit there and go, man, draining. That's a very powerful word. Just sucks the energy out of you. So, yes.
I had something I thought might be useful to add to that response, Tanner, because I come from a different angle. I own a custom software company. And the biggest challenge is not the fear of, will AI replace us? The biggest challenge is, will people begin to believe that AI can replace us? It's a social engineering fear rather than a practical reality-driven fear.
It's true. Yeah, and I mean, those are conversations that come up often in terms of should we be using AI? Do we want to keep perpetuating like this technology, those type of things? And they're few and far between, but they're always interesting because each person comes with a different perspective. I've had some people opt out from just AI in general, of just, hey, I don't want to be involved in any pilots, tests, et cetera. It's cool, respect your wishes. But just trying to find the folks that are kind of skeptical, but also kind of excited, and trying to mix those two together. So, yeah.
So, I have a question about how you were enabled to do this.
Mhm.
So INTRUST is a pretty big organization, right? So you're not doing individual software development on the side, it's for
Mhm.
a pretty large company.
Mhm.
So their risk tolerance is high. So can you explain to me what gave you the freedom to go out and create that, and what governance you had on your creativity?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one, I have to give a lot of credit to my boss's boss, my managing director, because he paves the way for a lot of this stuff. He creates an environment where, yes, go experiment, do that under the safety of our umbrella. And then part of it too was, after I went out and I got all of the information, I went home and I built something that I think would fit well. I built my vision, the thing that I think was going to fix the problem. And I brought that in and on my personal laptop and said, here's what I built. Here's the art of the possible. We have to wake up to these type of things, because if we don't, we're going to get left behind. I'm seeing other financial institutions already doing this type of stuff. And that, paired with my managing director, we were able to blaze a lot of trails and then go and get some of the things unlocked and unblocked that we needed to. AI governance is still something that everybody's trying to figure out. I'm right there with you. And I'm trying to help shape that a little bit for INTRUST of here's what we should allow people to do. We have high potential AI individuals. We need to put them into a special network and give them a curated set of tools. That way we don't stifle them, but it gives them a safe place where they can go play and they can build amazing things for their business units. And then the folks that don't want to do that, that's great. Again, we can keep them safe, secure, etc. But it all starts at the top and help them kind of blaze those trails.
I have a question regarding longevity and
Yeah.
upkeep.
Yeah.
long term, because you're not going to want to take care of this baby forever.
No.
How does your organization imagine implementing long-term caretaking of this?
So I'll speak for me. I believe that we have the talent and the different groups to take care of all this stuff. I think it's just a very deliberate effort to upskill the individuals that are in those groups. I think they can get there, but it's truly just training, getting them educated, getting them connected to this is how quickly we can build things, and bringing them along in the process and not just saying, hey, I built this thing, you guys take care of it. That's not fun. So again, bringing them along, that's the best answer I can give you.
And are your developers AI-enabled developers at this point?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, they're getting there, for sure. Did you have a follow-up question, Becca, before I move on? No? Okay.
Probably have one more question, and then we need to start transitioning.
Did you guys do a buy versus build valuation? Look at Jira or anything like that? And what did you find? What made you decide to go with the build?
So for this one in particular, it was I wanted to really demonstrate art of the possible. We don't have to go and buy every single thing. That was something that somebody brought up so it's like kind of like tickets, right? Like a ticket management type of thing. And I said, yeah, it's kind of, but this is a bespoke thing that we created exactly for your guys' problem. Something that I had seen throughout just my career in general in technology, but also at the bank is let's try to figure out what product we can buy, and then we can kind of mold and shape it and round off some edges to get it where it needs to be to kind of work for us. We're at the place in the era now where we can just build these things and they're custom fit for exactly what that person needs. It's a great question.
Can I ask you a quick question? In my experience with AI, I find that developing an MVP is great.
Sure.
But usually, eventually, it's misleading and it looks shiny and it runs great. But then as you begin to extrapolate it and try to actually complete your vision with AI, at least for me, it more oftentimes than not, almost all the times, doesn't quite work out the way. What are the odds that this project is implemented throughout your organization and does the job that you think that it will do?
So the way I'm kind of approaching that is by one, piecemealing it out and keeping a limited scale as to what I'm actually trying to solve. So right now it's for this particular support staff, and it is a 100% limited kind of bespoke creation just for them. I don't plan on taking that and throwing extra people into it. Instead, it's now that we have this framework and this blueprint, we can go build that core over here for our IT operations team, and we can make small adjustments. And you manage it that way instead of trying to scale it up to the point where you have 1,000 people in there and it ultimately will break. So that's kind of the way I've been approaching it. Does that help answer your question at all, or no?
Have you successfully implemented it into the business, and is it a tool that you anticipate they'll continue to use and keep?
As far as I know, yes. We'll see 6 months down the road. We'll see a year down the road. But for now, they seem to like it better than the spreadsheets and emails and Post-it notes.
That'll be your next presentation.
That's right. That's right.
I've got a quick reflection. I think one of the things that's come to mind is like vibe coding,
Yeah.
right? Where you start out with no programming knowledge. You had a medium amount of programming knowledge, right?
Yes.
Understand databases, understand web interfaces.
Yes.
You knew the Azure ecosystem,
Yep.
right? And so he's beginning with some of those fundamentals, right? And so I think a lot of times we're going to have to help people take programming 101, database
Yes.
101, and
One of the things that I did, because I took I took all my programming, database, that type of stuff back in college, and that was in 2011, 2012, so I need to brush up on it. But as I started working with Claude, I started working with Codex, one of the things that I did is anytime it wrote code, it had to do a plain English explanation right after it as to what it's doing, what it's affecting, what it's touching. That way it turned it into an education tool as well. And it wasn't just, hey, let's vibe code this thing. And I'm like, yeah, it looks great. Instead, it's here's all the blocks.
Yeah.
And then over time, start to, knock the rust off a little bit. But yes.
Right, that certain level of knowledge is really what makes the difference. Domain expertise is still a thing,
Mm-hmm.
right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Thank you.
Yes.